The great chamber of the Galactic Council looked like a giant metal flower. 47 different species sat in circles around a floating platform in the center. Some breathed air like humans. Others floated in water tanks. A few existed as pure energy, glowing softly in their special containers. Captain Lee Minho stood at attention in the human section. His dark uniform was simple compared to the fancy robes and armor worn by other species. He watched everything through his neural implant recording data that would go straight to Earth's military command. His face showed nothing, but his mind was busy counting ships, noting positions, and calculating response times. Ambassador Park Ji-woo sat in the human chair, her hands folded calmly on the table. She had been Earth's voice to the galaxy for 8 years. In that time, she had learned to smile when aliens insulted her species and to stay quiet when they made threats. Today felt different. Today, the threats were not hidden behind polite words. High Mediator Kulthari floated above the central platform. The ancient crystalline being had overseen council meetings for 300 years. Its voice came from speakers placed around the room, translating thoughts into words that each species could understand. The matter before us today concerns the human expansion, Kulthari announced. In 23 years, humans have claimed 12 star systems. They have built colonies, military bases, and industrial facilities. Several council members believe this expansion threatens galactic peace. Councillor Vextar rose from his seat. The reptilian saurian was 8 feet tall, covered in green scales that reflected the chamber's lights. His yellow eyes focused on Ambassador Park with obvious hatred. "Humans are a disease," Vextar said, his forked tongue flicking out as he spoke. "They spread across worlds like infection. They build weapons instead of gardens. They train soldiers instead of artists. In 23 years, they have militarized every system they control." Other aliens nodded in agreement. The floating jellyfish-like Nathari pulsed with angry colors. The insect-like collective buzzed in their unified voice. Even some of the peaceful species looked worried. Ambassador Park stood slowly. "Counselor, Vextar speaks of militarization. Perhaps he forgets that humans asked for protection treaties when we first joined this council. We were told that each species must defend itself. We were told that the galaxy is dangerous for newcomers. We listened. We prepared." "You prepared for war," Vextar hissed. "Your shipyards build battleships, not cargo vessels. Your colonies train armies, not farmers. You claim 12 systems now. How many will you claim next year? 20? 50? Captain Lee Minho touched his neural implant softly. New data flowed into his awareness. Saurian fleets had moved into attack, positions near 3 human colonies. Nathari gas giant ships were forming up in the outer systems. The collective had pulled their trading vessels back to their home worlds. This was not a debate. This was preparation for war. Ambassador Park looked around the chamber. Many species avoided her eyes. They had already made their choice. "What exactly are you asking of humanity?" she said quietly. High Mediator Kulthari's crystalline form pulsed with official authority. "The Galactic Council demands that humanity cease all expansion beyond your current 12 systems. You have 30 standard days to agree. All human exploration. Ships must return to human space. All new colony ships must be recalled. All military construction outside human systems must stop. And if we refuse?" Park asked. Vextar smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. "Then the Council will take corrective action. 41 species have agreed to support this motion. Your expansion will be stopped by force if necessary." Captain Lee Minho felt his jaw tighten. 41 species meant the largest military alliance in galactic history. It meant hundreds of thousands of ships, trillions of soldiers, and enough firepower to turn human colonies into ash. It also meant that some species he had thought were friends had chosen sides against humanity. Ambassador Park looked at each alien representative in turn. Some looked ashamed. Others looked eager for human blood. A few seemed scared, as if they knew something terrible was about to happen. "I need to consult with Earth before giving our answer," Park said. "You have 1 hour, Kulthari announced. "The Council will wait." Park walked to the human communications booth. Captain Lee followed, along with the small human delegation. Inside the soundproof chamber, Park activated the quantum communicator that linked directly to Earth's government. They planned this, Lee said quietly. Ship positions, timing, the vote count, this has been organized for months. Park nodded. I know. The question is whether they understand what they're asking for. The communication link opened. President Kim Ji-ho appeared on the screen, along with Admiral Ko Tae-hyun and several other officials. Park quickly explained the situation. 30 days to stop all expansion or face 41 species in combat, she finished. Admiral Ko's face was stone. Our current military strength could not withstand that alliance. However, if they force this confrontation, they will learn why. Humans have survived every challenge our species has ever faced. President Kim was quiet for long moments. What are the chances of diplomatic solution? 0, Park replied. They want us contained or destroyed. They see human expansion as an existential threat. Then they have made their choice, the president said. Give them our answer. The hour passed quickly. Ambassador Park returned to the council chamber with Captain Lee beside her. Every alien eye focused on her as she took her place at the human station. Earth has considered the council's ultimatum, she announced. Her voice carried clearly through the chamber's translation systems. We reject your demands completely. Angry sounds erupted from dozens of species. Vextar rose to his feet, scales rippling with rage. You reject the will of 41 species? He roared. Park smiled for the first time that day. It was not a pleasant smile. We reject your right to limit human expansion. We reject your threats. We reject your alliance. If you wish to stop human expansion, you are welcome to try, but understand this clearly. She paused, looking directly at each alien representative. When humans say, fine, I'll handle it, everyone should probably take cover. The chamber fell completely silent. Even the constant background hum of life support systems seemed to pause. Then suddenly, several species began activating emergency protocols. The crystalline Vorthak started transmitting evacuation orders to their homeworld. The peaceful Eldari began recalling their diplomats from human space. Captain Lee watched through his implant as alien fleets started moving away from human territory instead of toward it. Not all of them, not most of them, but enough to tell him that some species understood what humanity's polite rejection really meant. High Mediator Kulthari's ancient voice filled the chamber. The human response is noted. This council session is concluded. All species should prepare for the consequences of this day. As aliens filed out of the chamber, many avoided looking at the human delegation. Ambassador Park and Captain Lee stood alone in the empty space, knowing that everything had changed. Admiral Ko should activate Protocol Omega, Lee said quietly. Park nodded. The galaxy wanted to see what humans do when pushed into a corner. Now they're going to find out. News of humanity's rejection spread across the galaxy faster than light itself. Quantum communication networks carried the message to every inhabited system within 6 hours. The reaction was immediate and terrifying. On the Saurian homeworld, Counselor Vextar addressed his people through planetary broadcasts. The humans have chosen war, he declared, his scales bright with excitement. But they are only one species. We are many. We will crush their arrogance and scatter their colonies like dust. Similar speeches echoed across 40 other worlds. The Nethari pulsed with unified anger in their gas giant cities. The collective buzzed with shared hatred in their hive complexes. Military commanders began moving fleets toward human space. War factories started building weapons and ammunition. Troop transports filled with soldiers eager to fight the upstart species that dared challenge the established order. But on some worlds, different conversations were taking place. The peaceful Eldari had been studying humans since first contact. Their philosophers gathered in emergency sessions, reviewing every piece of human history they could access. What they found made them deeply worried. Look at this, Elder Thys said to his council, displaying holographic images. Humans fought a global war that killed 60 million of their own species. Then, 40 years later, they fought another war that killed 80 million more. They have weapons capable of destroying their entire planet, but they keep building more. The Eldari had never fought a war in their 3,000-year recorded history. The idea of killing 60 million people was beyond their understanding. The idea of doing it twice was nightmare fuel. Perhaps, Elderthis continued, we should reconsider our position on this alliance. Meanwhile, in human space, Admiral Ko Tae-hyun stood in Earth's orbital command center. The massive station hung above the planet like a metal moon, bristling, with communication arrays and defensive weapons. Through the transparent walls he could see Earth turning slowly below, blue and green and peaceful. Activate Protocol Omega, he ordered. The command went out instantly to every human colony, every space station, every ship in the fleet. Protocol Omega was not just a military order. It was the complete transformation of human civilization from peaceful expansion to total war footing. On New Sol, the agricultural colony that fed 3 nearby systems, farmers received neural implants containing military training downloaded directly into their brains. Within hours, people who had been planting crops were assembling weapons with expert precision. The colony's grain silos opened to reveal missile launchers. The farming equipment shed its disguises to become armored vehicles. Dr. Choi Hyerin worked from her laboratory on Europa Station, Earth's moon base dedicated to studying alien psychology. She had spent years learning how different species thought, how they made decisions, how they reacted to threats. Now she put that knowledge to devastating use. Begin Operation Mirror, she told her team. Across the galaxy, alien communication networks began receiving human historical footage, not propaganda or military recruitment videos, but simple documentaries about human conflicts. The footage showed human soldiers fighting in conditions that would kill most alien species instantly. Humans charging machine gun positions across muddy battlefields. Humans surviving in frozen trenches for months without surrender. Humans continuing to fight even when surrounded and outnumbered. The footage also showed human civilians. Humans rebuilding cities that had been bombed into rubble. Humans sharing food during starvation sieges. Humans helping enemies after wars ended. Humans never, ever giving up. The collective, with their shared hive mind, watched the footage of human individualists fighting impossible battles and winning through pure stubborn refusal to lose. For the first time in their species' history, doubt entered their collective consciousness. Commander Yoon Dae-ho received his activation orders aboard the merchant vessel Happy Trading, which was currently docked at a Nathari refueling station. The ship looked exactly like what it claimed to be, a peaceful cargo hauler carrying manufactured goods to alien markets. Ghost Fleet, this is Ghost Leader, he transmitted on a frequency that officially did not exist. Time to drop the masks. Across the galaxy, 200 ships responded. They had been hiding in plain sight for years, disguised as miners, researchers, traders, and tourists. The Happy Trading shed its fake cargo containers to reveal military-grade engines and weapon systems. Its crew of merchants put on combat armor and began arming their weapons. Similar transformations happened everywhere humans had a presence. The research station, studying gas giant atmospheres, revealed itself as a military fortress capable of destroying Nathari cities. The mining ship, extracting asteroids, turned out to be packed with enough explosives to crack a small moon. The cultural exchange students on alien worlds activated equipment that had been shipped piece by piece over several years. Engineer Kim Soo-young stood in the main factory complex on Mars, watching production lines that had been making farm equipment and household goods. At her command, robotic systems began tearing apart the civilian machinery and rebuilding it into weapons of war. Full conversion in 72 hours, she reported to Admiral Ko. Every human factory, shipyard, and fabrication facility will be producing military equipment. The numbers were staggering. Humans had built their industrial capacity to support rapid colonial expansion. Now that same capacity turned toward making weapons. Within days, human production would exceed the combined military manufacturing of the Correctional Alliance. Captain Shin Woo-bin led a team of specialists who had been traveling the galaxy as cultural researchers for the past 5 years. They had visited dozens of alien worlds, studying art and music and literature. They had also been mapping military installations, government facilities, and communication networks. Teams Alpha through Zeta begin demonstration protocols, he ordered. That night, impossible things happened on alien worlds. Military bases found their perimeter defenses mysteriously offline for exactly 30 minutes, then back online with no explanation. Government buildings discovered that their most secure communication rooms contained small objects that had not been there before. Human coins, photographs, or simple notes saying, "We were here." No damage was done. No one was hurt. But the message was clear. If humans wanted to cause real harm, they could reach anywhere, anytime. The psychological effect was devastating. If human students could penetrate the most secure facilities on dozens of worlds, what could human soldiers do? His reports flooded in from across the galaxy. The Correctional Alliance began to understand that they had made a serious mistake. They had thought humans were an aggressive young species that needed to be contained. They had not realized that humans were a species that had spent their entire existence preparing for exactly this kind of existential threat. The Eldari were the first to break ranks. Elder Theiss announced that his people would not participate in aggressive action against humanity. "We find the human response concerning," he said diplomatically. 3 other peaceful species quickly followed, but the core of the alliance held firm. 41 species became 37, but 37 was still enough to outnumber humanity by enormous margins. Vextar and his allies convinced themselves that human preparations were just desperate bluffing. On Earth, Admiral Ko received reports from every human colony. Industrial conversion was ahead of schedule. Military reserves were mobilizing faster than projected. The Ghost Fleet was in position and undetected. Protocol Omega was succeeding beyond their best estimates. "Sir," his aide reported, "we're receiving surrender offers from 4 minor species. They want to withdraw from the Alliance before shooting starts." Ko nodded. "Tell them surrender is not necessary. Tell them neutrality will be respected and protected. But make it clear that anyone who attacks human civilians will face the full response of our military." The aide paused. "Sir, should I mention our full military capabilities?" Admiral Ko looked out at Earth, thinking about the peaceful world below and the terrible things that might be necessary to protect it. "No," he said quietly. "Let them find out for themselves. When this is over, the galaxy needs to understand that humans prefer peace, but we are very, very good at war." The attack came exactly 30 days after the ultimatum, just as Counselor Vextar had promised. The Correctional Alliance had chosen their target carefully, New Busan, a human agricultural colony in the Kepler 442 system. Intelligence reports said it was lightly defended, with a population of simple farmers who had never seen real combat. Fleet Commander Zaktoth led the strike force from his flagship Righteousness. The Saurian commander had fought in 12 different conflicts and never lost a battle. Behind him came 300 ships from 7 different species, carrying enough firepower to destroy a planet. "Sensors show minimal orbital defenses," his tactical officer reported. 2 small patrol boats and what appears to be a cargo handling station. Zaktoth nodded with satisfaction. "The humans will learn that defying the Council has consequences. Begin the attack." The strike force dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the system, weapons charging and shields raised. They expected to find panicked human ships fleeing for their lives. Instead, they found Fleet Admiral Namjisu waiting for them. The human admiral stood on the bridge of the HDES Indomitable, watching alien ships appear on her sensors. Around her, officers worked with calm efficiency that spoke of years of preparation. The ship's neural network linked her directly to every defensive installation in the system. "Welcome to New Busan," she said over open communication channels. "I am Admiral Nam Jisoo of the Human Defense Forces. You have entered human territory with hostile intent. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences." Commander Zaktoth laughed, a sound like grinding metal. "1 human ship challenges 300? Your arrogance will be your destruction." "1 ship?" Admiral Nam repeated. "Computer, reveal defensive positions." Across the new Busan system, camouflaged installations suddenly appeared on alien sensors. The cargo handling station was actually a military fortress with enough weapons to outfit a battle fleet. The asteroid mining facilities were armed platforms capable of destroying capital ships. The surface of New Busan itself bristled with missile launchers, particle beam cannons, and shield generators. Most shocking of all, the patrol boats were revealed to be advanced stealth frigates, each carrying enough firepower to match a heavy cruiser. And behind the moon, 60 more human warships decloaked in perfect battle formation. "What you see," Admiral Nam announced, "is what happens when humans prepare for defense. Every human colony has been fortified to this level. Every human system is protected by hidden fleets. We told you we were expanding for peaceful reasons. We also told you we were preparing for threats. Did you think we were lying about both?" The battle began badly for the Correctional Alliance and got worse from there. Human weapons were more advanced than expected, human shields stronger than projected, and human tactics more sophisticated than anyone had imagined. The aliens had superior numbers, but humans had superior everything else. Dr. Ryu Sung-min watched the battle from his laboratory deep inside the New Busan military complex. As the colony's chief physicist, he had spent 5 years working on humanity's most classified project. Now it was time for the first field test. "Project Lazarus is ready for deployment," he reported to Admiral Nam. On the surface of a nearby uninhabited moon, a device no larger than a briefcase activated. Gravity itself began to bend around the device, creating a localized anomaly that grew stronger by the minute. Within 10 minutes, the entire moon began to compress under impossible gravitational forces. The alien fleet watched in horror as a celestial body the size of Earth's moon was crushed into a sphere barely 10 kilometers across. The gravitational distortion was visible to the naked eye, warping space and light around the compressed mass. "That," Admiral Nam broadcast to the alien fleet, "is what we do to uninhabited moons. Imagine what we could do to your ships." Commander Zaktoth felt his scales turn pale. His species had fought wars for thousands of years, but they had never seen weapons that could manipulate fundamental forces of physics. How could any species develop such technology in only 23 years? The answer came from an unexpected source. The collective hive mind, which had remained silent during the battle, suddenly transmitted on all frequencies. "We understand now. Humans do not develop technology for 23 years. Humans develop technology for 23,000 years. Every human conflict teaches them. Every human challenge makes them stronger. They are not a young species, learning to fight. They are an old species that has always fought." The truth was spreading through the alien fleet like a virus. Human history was not 23 years of space travel. It was thousands of years of constant warfare, technological advancement, and adaptation to impossible challenges. Humans had not joined the galactic community as primitives. They had joined as a species that had already solved every problem the galaxy could present. Sergeant Moon Haejin led her ground forces in a demonstration that terrified alien intelligence officers. Her troops moved across New Busan's surface in environmental suits designed for combat in any conditions. They practiced assault techniques for ice worlds, desert planets, gas giant platforms, and even the crystalline formations where some aliens lived. The message was clear. Humans were not just prepared to fight in space, they were prepared to fight on every type of world in the galaxy, under any conditions, against any enemy. The battle lasted 14 hours. When it ended, the Correctional Alliance had lost nearly half their strike force. 47 ships destroyed, 36 ships disabled, and thousands of alien soldiers dead or wounded. Human casualties, 1,247. Most of those were civilians who had insisted on helping with defensive operations despite evacuation orders. The farmers of New Busan had fought alongside professional soldiers, using farm equipment converted to military purposes and determination that alien observers described as psychologically disturbing. Diplomat Lee Min-young arrived in the aftermath, representing the new human diplomatic approach that she called reality diplomacy. Instead of polite negotiations, she provided neutral species with detailed, accurate assessments of human capabilities. "You want to know what humans are capable of?" she asked alien diplomats. New Busan was considered one of our lightly defended colonies. We have 47 other systems, each more heavily fortified than this one. We have industrial capacity that exceeds your combined civilizations. We have weapons that make gravitational anomalies look like children's toys. She paused, letting the implications sink in. But most importantly, we have a species-wide consensus that we will never again allow our survival to depend on someone else's goodwill. Every human child learns to fight before they learn to read. Every human adult has basic military training. Every human colony is a fortress. Every human ship is a potential warship. The neutral species began making their own calculations. The ethereal collective, which had remained uncommitted to either side, quietly announced that they were offering to mediate a peaceful resolution. The Crystal Consortium started transmitting surrender terms to human diplomatic channels. Even, some members of the Correctional Alliance began reconsidering their position. The gas giant dwelling Nathari, who had lost 12 ships at New Busan, started arguing for negotiated withdrawal, but Councillor Vextar and his core allies were not ready to admit defeat. From his command ship at the edge of Saurian space, he transmitted a message to all Alliance members. "One battle means nothing," he declared. "Humans won because they had time to prepare defenses. We will attack multiple systems simultaneously. We will use our numbers to overwhelm their forces. They cannot be everywhere at once." What Vextar did not know was that humans had been intercepting Saurian communications for months. Commander Bae Juhyuk's Deep Space Reconnaissance Forces had positioned listening posts throughout alien territory. They heard every plan, every order, every strategic discussion. Admiral Ko Tai-hyun received the intelligence reports on Earth and smiled for the first time since the crisis began. "They think we can't be everywhere at once," he told his staff. "Let's show them what human logistics can accomplish." Across human space, the real war preparations began. What the galaxy had seen so far was just the opening move. Humans were about to demonstrate why their species had survived every existential threat in their violent history. The galaxy was about to learn that when humans say, "Fine, I'll handle it," they don't just solve the immediate problem. They solve it so thoroughly that it never happens again. The Correctional Alliance learned the meaning of desperation 3 weeks after the Battle of New Busan. Councillor Vextar stood before his war council, looking at casualty reports that made no sense. How could humans be winning when they were outnumbered 50-1? "Deploy everything," he ordered, his scales dark with rage. "Every ship, every weapon, every soldier. We attack 3 human systems at the same time. They cannot defend everywhere." General Park Seon-ho received the alien battle plans 12 hours before the attack began. Human intelligence networks, built over years of careful preparation, had infiltrated alien communications so thoroughly that human commanders knew enemy orders. Before some enemy soldiers did, they're committing 60% of their combined fleet's Gilonr, he reported to Admiral Ko from his command center on New Harmony. Target systems are New Harmony, New Tokyo, and New Mumbai. They expect to overwhelm us with pure numbers. Admiral Ko studied the tactical displays showing alien fleet movements. Hundreds of ships from dozens of species all converging on human colonies. It was the largest military operation in galactic history. "Good," he said quietly. "Now we can show them what human strategic thinking actually looks like." The aliens expected to find human fleets spread thin, trying to defend multiple systems with insufficient forces. Instead, they discovered that humans had been planning for exactly this scenario since joining the galactic community. Captain Oh Jeon piloted the HDES Indomitable, humanity's first planet-killer weapon platform. The massive ship was disguised as a mobile research station, traveling slowly between human systems while conducting scientific surveys. In reality, it carried weapons capable of cracking worlds like eggs. "Beginning demonstration protocol," she announced as alien fleets approached New Tokyo. The uninhabited planet in the system's outer edge had been selected months ago for this exact purpose. As alien ships watched through their sensors, The Indomitable fired a single weapon pulse at the world. The planet split cleanly in half, each piece spinning away in perfect mathematical precision. "That was our mining laser set to minimum power," Captain O broadcast to the alien fleets. "Would you like to see what our actual weapons do to inhabited worlds?" The psychological effect was immediate and devastating. Several alien species had never seen planet-killing weapons. The idea that humans possessed such technology and were willing to demonstrate it casually broke the morale of entire fleets. But humans had learned something important from their own violent history. Fear alone was not enough to win wars. You, Xiao, also needed to show that you were reasonable victors. Dr. Yang Kyung-sok had spent years studying alien psychology, predicting exactly how different species would react to various forms of pressure. His profiles proved accurate in ways that terrified alien intelligence services. "The collective will fragment under individual stress," he had written. "Apply pressure that requires independent decision-making, and their hive mind will develop internal contradictions." During the battle for New Mumbai, human forces did exactly that. Instead of fighting the collective ships directly, they presented each vessel with separate tactical problems that required immediate, individual responses. The hive mind, which had never needed to make independent decisions, began experiencing something their species had no word for: internal disagreement. For the first time in their evolutionary history, individual collective ships began acting without consulting the collective consciousness. The psychological trauma was so severe that 3 ships simply shut down completely, their crews unable to function. The Saurians respond to displays of superior strength, Yang had predicted, but they also respect enemies who show mercy to the defeated. Human forces demonstrated both. When Saurian ships were disabled, human rescue vessels immediately moved to save alien crews. Human medical facilities treated wounded aliens with the same care given to human soldiers. Captured Saurian officers were housed in comfortable facilities and allowed to communicate with their families. This combination of overwhelming force and unexpected mercy created cognitive dissonance in species that had assumed humans were simply another aggressive military power. Commander Bae Juhyuk's reconnaissance forces revealed the scope of human preparation in ways that shook the galaxy's understanding of strategic thinking. Every human exploration mission over the past 20 years had been simultaneously mapping the galaxy for scientific purposes and for military logistics. Alien commanders discovered that humans knew their supply routes better than they did. Human forces appeared at the exact locations where alien reinforcements were expected, often arriving first and setting up ambushes. Human logistics networks delivered supplies to human forces faster than light-speed communication could coordinate alien responses. "How is this possible?" Vextar demanded of his intelligence officers. "How can humans know our plans before we execute them?" The answer was devastating in its simplicity. Humans had been treating first contact as the beginning of a potential war, not the beginning of peaceful cooperation. Every cultural exchange, every trade agreement, every diplomatic meeting had included intelligence-gathering components that aliens had never detected. The most terrifying revelation came when alien forces tried to attack human supply lines, only to discover that human logistics were completely different from anything they understood. Where alien militaries used centralized supply chains that could be disrupted, humans used distributed manufacturing that could adapt instantly to changing needs. Every human colony could produce weapons, ammunition, food, medical supplies, and replacement parts for any human military equipment. Where alien forces needed months to prepare for major operations, human forces could deploy anywhere in the galaxy, within days, carrying enough supplies to fight independently for years. General Park Seon-ho demonstrated this during the Battle of New Harmony. As alien fleets approached the system, he didn't just defend the colony. He launched simultaneous counterattacks on 3 alien home systems, using forces that had been pre-positioned for exactly this purpose. "The enemy commits their fleets to attack us," he explained to his officers. "This creates opportunity. While they attack our fortress, we attack their undefended homes." Alien commanders watched in horror as human strike forces appeared in their rear areas, not to destroy civilian targets, but to disable military infrastructure with surgical precision. Space docks were rendered inoperable. Communication networks were disrupted. Government facilities found their security systems mysteriously failing. Most disturbing of all, humans demonstrated their ability to reach any location in the galaxy. The crystalline Vorthak lived in a system surrounded by spatial anomalies that made normal travel impossible. They had considered themselves completely safe from any attack. Human ships appeared in their system anyway, having somehow navigated the spatial maze that had protected the Vorthak for millennia. The ships didn't attack. They simply broadcast a message. We bring greetings from humanity and an invitation to reconsider your alliance memberships. The Vorthak withdrew from the Correctional Alliance that same day. As the three-system battle raged, the truth about human strategic thinking became clear. Humans didn't fight to achieve limited political objectives. They fought to reshape entire situations so that fighting would never be necessary again. Dr. Lim Dongyun's Reconstruction Division was already working in systems where fighting had ended. Instead of occupying defeated worlds, humans were repairing damage, rebuilding infrastructure, and providing medical aid to alien casualties. They were demonstrating that human victory meant better conditions for everyone, not conquest and exploitation. The psychological impact was devastating to alien morale. Species that had joined the alliance to stop human aggression were discovering that humans were the most reasonable, helpful species they had ever encountered. Species that had feared human expansion were realizing that human protection was actually beneficial. Within days, minor species began approaching human diplomatic channels with surrender requests. But humans had learned from their own history that accepting surrender was not the same as achieving peace. Surrender is not what we want, Admiral Ko announced to the galaxy. We want understanding. We want the security that comes from neighbors who know that humans prefer cooperation, but are prepared for any alternative. The battle was turning into something no one had expected, a demonstration of human competence that was making the entire galaxy reconsider how civilizations should interact with each other. As alien fleets retreated from all three human systems, carrying reports of impossible human capabilities and disturbing human mercy, species across the galaxy began asking the same question. What kind of civilization produces people like this? The answer was becoming clear, and it was reshaping galactic politics in ways that would affect every species for generations to come. The war ended not with a final battle, but with a demonstration that made battle pointless. Admiral Song Mirai stood in the command center of humanity's newest weapon, a space station that officially did not exist, hidden in the dark matter shadows between galaxies. Operation Clean Slate is ready for execution, she reported to Earth Command. President Kim Ji-ho looked tired as she appeared on the communication screen. The weight of leading humanity through its first galactic war showed in every line of her face. Behind her, Admiral Ko and the other military leaders waited quietly. How many alien casualties? The president asked. 0 if everything works as planned, Admiral Song replied. We disable their weapons, not their people, though the psychological impact will be significant. The operation began at exactly 1200 Standard Galactic Time. Across 15 different star systems, human stealth ships activated weapons that no alien species had ever imagined. Instead of destroying enemy fleets, the weapons simply turned off every piece of military technology within range. On the Saurian homeworld, Counselor Vextar watched his planetary defense grid shut down one system at a time. Weapons that had protected his people for centuries became as harmless as children's toys. His personal communicator stopped working. His transportation stopped moving. Even his ceremonial sword, which contained electronic components, became inert metal. Similar scenes played out across the galaxy. The Nathari found their gas giant cities floating helplessly as all technology above the level of simple mechanics stopped functioning. The collective experienced something beyond their worst nightmares: complete technological isolation, with no electronic connection between any member of their species. 7 minutes. That's how long the effect lasted. But, in those 7 minutes, every member of the Correctional Alliance understood that humans could have killed them all. but chose not to. "Attention, Galaxy," Admiral Song broadcast on all frequencies. "What you have just experienced is a demonstration of human defensive capabilities. We have disabled your weapons to prevent further loss of life. We have not disabled your life, support systems, your medical equipment, or your civilian infrastructure. When we say we prefer peace, this is what we mean." The reaction was immediate and overwhelming. Within hours, surrender offers poured in from across the galaxy. But President Kim had learned from human history that accepting surrender was only the beginning of building peace. "We do not want your surrender," she announced in her address to the Galactic Council. "We want your partnership in building a galaxy where such conflicts are unnecessary." Dr. Lim Dong-yun's post-conflict reconstruction division had been planning for this moment since the war began. Instead of occupation forces, humans sent engineering teams to repair damage on alien worlds. Instead of tribute demands, humans offered to share technology that would improve life for every species. The transformation was stunning. On worlds where human and alien forces had fought bitter battles, human medical teams worked alongside alien doctors to treat casualties from both sides. Human engineers collaborated with alien scientists to rebuild infrastructure better than it had been before the conflict. Most alien species had never seen a victor behave this way. In their experience, winning wars meant domination, exploitation, and revenge. Humans demonstrated something different. Winning wars meant creating conditions where wars were no longer necessary. Ambassador Cho Yeon-soo took over diplomatic duties for the new Galactic Order. Her first act was to restructure the Galactic Council, with humans in a role that had never existed before: stability guarantors. "Any species may call upon human intervention to resolve conflicts," she announced. "Our judgments will be based on preventing harm, protecting civilian populations, and maintaining galactic peace. Our decisions will be final and non-negotiable." The arrangement was not imposed by force. It was requested by dozens of species who had seen how humans handled victory and wanted that same level of protection for themselves. The Eldari were among the first to sign protection agreements. Elder Theiss explained his people's reasoning. "Humans are the only species we have observed that becomes more reasonable as they become more powerful. We trust them with our security because they have proven they value life above conquest." Within 6 months, 31 species had signed similar agreements. The galaxy began experiencing unprecedented peace as human peacekeeping forces prevented conflicts before they could escalate into wars. Admiral Song established the Human Galactic Patrol Force, a network of rapid response fleets that could reach any system in the galaxy within days. The ships carried weapons powerful enough to disable entire fleets, but they also carried medical supplies, engineering equipment, and diplomats trained in xenopsychology. The psychological effect was remarkable. Species that had been preparing for war with each other for decades found themselves protected by humans who had no interest in taking sides, only in preventing violence. 1 year after the ultimatum, Councillor Vextar found himself in an unexpected position. His homeworld was under attack by raiders from the Galactic Rim, pirates who preyed on established civilizations. The Saurian military, still recovering from their war with humanity, could not respond effectively. The call for human assistance went out at 0300 local time. By 0600, 2 human patrol squadrons had arrived in the system. By 0900, the raiders were retreating in panic after discovering that humans had weapons that could disable ships without destroying them, then track those ships anywhere they went. Vextar stood in his government chamber, looking at reports of human forces pursuing pirates through hyperspace using technology no other species possessed. The humans had saved his people from destruction, asked for nothing in return, and were now hunting down the raiders to prevent them from attacking anyone else. "I still do not understand them," he admitted to his aide. "They could have conquered us. They could have enslaved us. Instead, they protect us from our enemies and ask only that we maintain peace." The aide, a younger Saurian who had studied human psychology, offered a different perspective. "Perhaps that is exactly why they can conquer anyone. Who would fight? Against protectors?" Meanwhile, on Earth, President Kim watched reports from across the galaxy. Trade was flourishing under human protection. Scientific advancement was accelerating through human research-sharing programs. Exploration was expanding with human logistic support. The galaxy was more peaceful and prosperous than it had been in recorded history. The interesting thing, she told Admiral Ko, is that this was always our plan. Ko raised an eyebrow. Always? Not the war, Kim clarified. But the result. We joined the galactic community hoping to become partners, then protectors, then the species other civilizations could count on for security and stability. The war just gave us the opportunity to prove. We were capable of the responsibility. The final test came when the ancient mediators, a species older than the Galactic Council itself, requested human assistance with a problem that had plagued them for millennia. Their homeworld was dying, and they lacked the technology to save. Dr. Lim's reconstruction teams worked for months alongside mediator scientists, not just to repair their world, but to make it better than it had ever been. When the project was complete, the mediators made an announcement that shocked the galaxy. In our 40,000 years of existence, we have seen many species rise and fall. We have never seen a species that grew more compassionate as it grew more powerful. Humanity represents something new in galactic evolution, a species that achieves dominance through service rather than conquest. The statement became known as the Mediator Judgment, and it fundamentally changed how every species viewed humanity and their role in galactic civilization. 2 years after the ultimatum, Ambassador Park Ji-woo met privately with Counselor Vextar in the same chamber where the crisis had begun. The Saurian looked older, his scales dulled with what humans might call wisdom. "I have a question that has troubled me," he said quietly. "How long had your species been planning this outcome?" Park smiled, the same smile she had worn when rejecting the ultimatum. "We weren't planning conquest, Counselor. We were planning to survive. Everything else was just thoroughness. But the industrial capacity, the hidden fleets, the advanced weapons, all defensive preparations," Park replied. "We learned early in our history that the best way to avoid being conquered is to be unconquerable. The best way to avoid being threatened is to be so clearly capable of self-defense that threatening us becomes obviously pointless." Vextar was quiet for long moments. "And now? Now we protect others the way we protected ourselves. We solve problems the way we solved our own problems. Completely, permanently, and with enough thoroughness that they never happen again." Outside the chamber windows, the galaxy continued its quiet revolution. Human children played in parks on alien worlds while their parents served as peacekeepers, teachers, and protectors. Trade ships moved safely through space under human escort. Scientific expeditions explored dangerous regions with human support. When humans said, "Fine, I'll handle it," they had not just solved the immediate problem of galactic conflict. They had solved the underlying problem of galactic insecurity. The galaxy had locked down not in fear, but in gratitude for finally having protectors.